opportunity to say happy birthday in person, Rick Henderson. And of course, everybody knows that other deep, mellifluous voice, Yale Lewis.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Boy, 16 years old today.
Isn't it?
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16.
Backwards.
Backwards, really?
Really?
Really? It's that time, huh? Well, you're feeling good, though, right?
Sure.
All right, that's the way to be.
You have to feel good.
How were you feeling when you were playing with Ellington?
Well, I joined Ellington when I was 23. It took me about 2 weeks to realize what I had done. I just come out of the Army in November of 1952, and on March 10th, I joined the Duke Ellington Band, 1953. So you can imagine coming out the Army after 2 years. I was a wild young man.
At 23, yeah.
At 23, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So when I joined Duke, it took me about 2 weeks to realize that I had made a transition from 0 to something.
like going at Mach speed,
Yeah.
0 to 60
Yeah,
in 5 seconds.
And it was a...
But how did that happen? I mean, were you in the Army band while you were
Well, I was
in the service?
conductor of the 63rd Army Band and the 75th Army Band, which happened to be in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. But I had been out of the service, and like most guys, I was just trying to find out what I wanted to do. Because I come out on November
Your 2 years
8th.
were up.
Yeah, my 2 years was up. And I was just in between. And I was hitting and missing, like most of us do in this crazy occupation. And I think on March the 8th, I got a call from someone say, would I like to join Duke Ellington's band? I just said, why not? I'm doing a lot of nothing now. I was.
And this is something, and I get to play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened, he was in the Washington area at a place called the Quonset Hut. And I went out to the Quonset Hut. He said, you're a saxophone player? I said, yes. He put a white dinner jacket on me, set me down with the band, and proceeded with his show.
No audition.
That was it.
That was it.
that was the audition.
You sink or swim in front of all these people right now.
Right, that was it.
Yeah, the king had a way of doing things like that.
He never had a special rehearsal for me at all. And when I joined the band, we left from the Howard Theater. That was the meeting place for all the guys. And it was on March the 10th, and I started riding that marvelous bus. And my first trip was to Savannah, Georgia, from Washington, on that marvelous bus.
What a trip, what an experience after going to Savannah. But you go where the audience is.
That's when I learned it was a cinder block hotel we were staying, and the guy said, you better get yourself some deodorant. So I got one of these smoke bombs, because cinder block attracts what those red bugs, water bugs.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it was Clark Terry, I think it might have been Clark or Willie Cook told me, see, now you get this bomb, you throw it in the room, and you go out and eat.
And then and you come back when the air clears.
I'm serious.
Gosh, really?
That's what we did. It was a cinder block building, and it was damp. And water bugs just, they come up like that.
And the experiences and things that must have happened on the road that people, when you go to a show, you don't think about what the artist goes through, and especially in that time, what the artist goes through to get to that point where they're sitting on stage doing what they do.
People seem to think that all we do is do the glamour part of it. They don't know nothing about the 10-hour rides, the sad hotels, the greasy food you smell a mile away and you have to eat.
Because that's it. There's nothing else.
They think it's all glamour. Unfortunately, it's not. We pay a lot of dues.
Well, you made it through the glamorous parts and through the dues-paying parts.
Well,
and here we are.
When you're young, it's a big adventure. I always tell people my first 3 times around the country, I enjoyed it. The 4th time, it got to be a job. Well, it's new to you.
Yeah.
And you're meeting new people.
Experience.
You're seeing new things. The first time we went around the country, well, what we would do, they would come out in New York and they'd take the southern route to California. The next time we take the northern route to California. The next time we go to the central of the country, Wyoming, all those places that you are up on the scene on the map. Mm-hmm. But after you've done that 3 times, there's no longer a novelty. Either you like it or you don't.
How long were you with the Ellington organization?
Initially, I stayed from 53 to 56. I came out and I took over the leadership of the Howard Theater band. As the house band, we supported all the acts at the time. And then in between, we were off a lot. I would go back out with Duke as he had different emergencies in the saxophone section.
So that would mean at 26, you were in charge of the house band of the Howard.
26, 27, right. I was the youngest band leader in the world.
I was going to say you must have been.
Yeah, I was.
At that time.
I'll share something else with you about him. You know, when we first came on, I called him Rick Jones.
Yes, you did. I didn't forget that.
Yeah,
I didn't make a note, but I made a note up here.
Well,
okay.
You know, he has we have a dear mutual friend, Clark Terry, that draped that on him. You know, they were performing together with Duke all over the country. Mm-hmm. And one day he looked at him and he says, you know, I'm looking at that billboard up there featuring Rick Henderson. He said, man, your name is too long. From now on, you're going to be Rick Jones.
Yeah, so CT, that's one of my brothers. He was my roommate, really, through most of the 3 years. Initially, I stayed with Duke, and I went back and forth for another 4 years. Depends when who was out. Mm-hmm. One time, Connie got sick, and Russell Poco played the baritone, and I played the alto chair. And then another time, Johnny Hodges had an illness, and I took his seat. Then another time, somebody played, I took Paul or somebody's seat. Duke, he liked to keep things in the family because he had his own way of doing things, and he wanted less confusion and transitions as possible.
Mm-hmm. So you use the people that you know are going to fit in.
Yeah, you know, it makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
Why gamble, you know? I knew the system, so.
One of those illnesses with Hodges was when he had that stomach trouble. That's when you did the recording of Drummer's Woman Suite.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only time Hodges and I were playing on the same album, Drummer's Woman. It's kind of funny because I grew up in senior high school loving Johnny Hodges. We was talking about it yesterday. We used to cut our classes on Fridays to go to the Howard Theater. And whenever Duke got there, I was right there watching Johnny Hodges. And 20 years later, I'm sitting in his seat.
With him. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting and playing his music.
Mm-hmm.
It's frightening experience. But, you know.
But it's a dream come true. It's just one of those experiences that so few people ever get to.
Well, initially I didn't really believe it. I said it took me about 2 weeks to realize I had made that transition, and it was kind of a real thing that just grabbed me. Say, you know what you just done? Come out of the Army, do nothing, and join the #1 band in the world, Duke Ellington.
But that's
then I got sober.
You sober up and say, oh, what have I done? My guest, friends, if you're just joining us for this edition of Caravan, is Rick Henderson and Yale Lewis. And you know the number, and if you don't, I'll give it to you. It's 364-6092. We invite you to call in and be a part of this. If there is an Ellington favorite that you may want to hear this afternoon, well, you should see the stack of albums that Yale Lewis brought, and I'm sure we've got it in there somewhere, and we can probably find it. 364-6092 is the number. What were you doing during this period of time, Yale?
Oh, I was doing my little back in the broadcasting situation. I was doing that. Mm-hmm. I had been out of Howard University and back on the scene. I was worrying Rick Henderson half to death every time he was when he had the house band at the Howard Theater. We lived right next door to one another during that
608 and 610 Jefferson.
608 and 610 Jefferson Northwest. And, if I'd come in or something, I'd see Rick coming down the street. He'd say, hey, man, what's happening? I'd say, hey, I'm going on in, maybe have a beer or something. He'd say, you coming down to the theater tonight? Yeah, I'll be down. And listen to the music. The funny thing about him, though, I don't care what group came into town at the Howard Theater. Sometimes they wouldn't have their own bands or orchestras, but the house band then took over. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, Rick doesn't like to tell you about it, but a lot of people would come in, wouldn't have a sheet of anything. I've seen this guy sit up on a bandstand and do arrangements right for the whole band on the spot for them. And then when he finished with them, yes, they had an arrangement. And I don't mean no little time stars. Some big time people would come in there and wouldn't have the first sheet of paper.
Well, we got to give an explanation of this. At that time, all the recordings were made with small combos, 5 and 6 pieces. But when they got to the Howard Theater, they have a 12-piece band. And no act wanted the other act to have a bigger band sound than he had. Mm-hmm. So what most of them would do would call me before they got there. And they would want, by midnight, to have that big band behind them for the midnight show. Because that's when the screamers would be there.
Yes. Yeah, the audience changes, right.
So 2 or 3 days, I just stayed up and did it.
Gosh. Who was in the house band that we might know?
Well, you know, today is like my birthday, and there's some guys I like to personally thank who you know quite well. The young man who did quite a few of these professional recordings, his name was Benjamin Montgomery. He had the old 600 Ampex. The only other person who had one in the city was Tex Gaffins. This, you know, we're talking about 30 years ago. We're talking about 33 years ago, actually. And when we weren't playing in the theater, they would allow me to go into the theater and rehearse the band. So since Ben had just bought this gorgeous new equipment for a few $1,000s, he wanted to try it out. And it was a good opportunity for us to get some professional recordings. So Ben, he did most of the things that you'll hear that we did. And they were done at the Howard Theater as a rehearsal. And you say, who were some of the guys? Well, we'll start out with 3 guys who were, one guy who was a senior citizen, and I'm quite sure Yale knows him well. He was there when I started. He was there when I left. And he played with several other house bands. Julius Pope. He was there the whole 8 years I was there. And then there's my little big brother, Dr. Clarence E. Knight, who's now the coordinator of music at Bowie State. He was there. There's Peter Ford, who had the first senior high school jazz ensemble. There's Calvin Jones, who was my assistant band leader, who is your leader of your jazz ensemble.
Right.
And Bobby Felder. And all the band leaders. Irby has played with my band during the Ellington series. Dr. George Ross, he took my place at Maryland University. When I left, he came in the same slot. You know, it was just a whole bunch of guys. We just did it. We had fun then. It was a lot more fun, a lot more freedom. We didn't make no money, but we had fun.
We had fun. And sometimes it's better to have the fun than all the additional problems.
I hate to disagree with a lady, but I'd rather have the money.
You certainly want the money. But you certainly want the money. I hear a voice on the phone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
This is Jimmy McPhail.
Oh, hi.
How you doing?
Welcome.
I understand that today is Rick's birthday, and
Yes,
I want to wish him a happy birthday.
All right, bros.
We were talking today earlier about that dollar bill. He called me on the telephone this morning, pretending he was someone else, and played this record called "I've Got to Have That Dollar Bill." So now I hear he's talking about that money.
Guitar Watson, dollar bill, dollar bill.
That's right. Faune, how you been?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. The program is fine. I've been listening to you since the last time I was up there on it.
Oh,
That's been a couple of years now.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I've got to have you in.
Well, anytime you say.
Okay.
For that fellow with the big voice, I said hello also.
That sounds like McPhail. I put my headsets on late.
Oh, that you did,
yeah,
right.
So that must be Sir
Recognize the
James.
voice.
Yeah.
Hello, Sir
How
James.
you doing, Yale?
It's all right, sir.
The record, the music that Rick played, All the Things You Are, was out of sight. I hadn't heard that for a while.
Say, James, I think I told you this morning that we closed with your Come Sunday yesterday.
Oh.
The thing you did on My People.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gee, thanks. That's
Yale
nice.
pulled it out of his bag, and we played it.
And I intend to pull it out again today.
Wonderful.
Okay.
I'm listening.
It's in the lineup. You have quite a bit of experience, and I'm sure some stories that you could tell also, relating with your experiences and Ellington.
Oh, yes.
Don't tell the truth. Don't tell the truth.
Oh, yes. I have quite a few.
We've got the time, and it's your dime right now. Something you want to you can share with us?
Well, there were times when you would work with Ellington, and you'd sit on the stage all night, and he wouldn't call on you. Then the next day he'll say, Jimmy McPhail, and he'll have me to sing. Mm-hmm. Then other times he'd go back into that bag. But it was a terrific experience, though. Mm-hmm. You learned a lot working for him, and you just went all over the country.
James, did I ever tell you how I got to write the arrangement of All Things You Are?
I think it was because, something happened on the stage that somebody couldn't perform.
No, that was another tune.
Oh.
Well, when I joined Duke's band, naturally, I'd had no slow slots. So we got to El Paso, Texas, and after 2 weeks, I was a frustrated young man. So I went to a dime store and bought one of these gorgeous ledgers that kids write, and I wrote the arrangement of All the Things You Are. And on our way to California, we played it. And the next thing I know, on all the programs featuring our concerts, it was All the Things You Are, solo by Rick Henderson. He never asked. Come to think, he never paid me for that music.
Hey, he didn't pay for a lot of things. Yes, sir. The Duke was something else.
Getting instant amnesia about the money.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Marquette Foley was here from the Smithsonian, and she related that that very same thing, that when it came to the money.
Well, I tell you something he would do too. He wouldn't carry any money with him.
Well, that way you don't have to worry about that.
No, but he would borrow yours. He'd meet you out in the club. Hey, lend me some money. Pay the check.
People who smoke cigarettes and never have any.
Then he get amnesia. Did you lend me some money? Dude, time you see me, give me my money.
Yeah, those were some of the good days, weren't they?
Yeah.
But it's just at this point you can say it's nice to have been there and to have been able to share those experiences.
Oh,
so,
yes.
You know,
oh, yes.
You as you say, you would have rather had the money.
Of course.
Yes.
Time.
Oh. That's why I played this thing for Jimmy this morning, you know. What they say, something about the cash. Don't need no trash, need cash.
Yes,
True.
I got smart, though, in the later years. I was paying my hotel rent, out of the money I was making. I wasn't making that much. I had to send money back home. I learned how to sign Duke Ellington's name. And they throw it in with the rest of the bill.
That's what all his family did. You guys
right. Oh, boy, that family. Wow. They took care of him. They spent all the money.
Yeah. Whew. Something else.
Well, Jimmy, it's sure been nice having you call in today, and I will be in touch to have you come in, and you and I will share some time together.
Fine.
Okay?
Anytime you say.
All righty.
Nice talking to you all.
Thank you so much.
Talk later, James.
Okay, baby.
Hang tough, James.
Bye-bye.
This is WDCU FM in Washington, and you're listening to The Caravan. Faune is my name. My guests this afternoon are Rick Henderson and Yale Lewis. And we're going to get back to the music in just a wee bit. It's now 11 minutes before the hour of 4. We've got another listener on the line that wants to share a question, a comment, something with us. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
How are you this evening?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
I want to speak to Rick.
Be my guest.
Hey, Junior.
Junior, this is my cousin Lonnie.
No. This is somebody from down at 5th Virginia Avenue, Southeast.
Junior?
Yeah.
Boy, if I wasn't on air, I'd tell you something.
Boy, it goes back a long time, don't it?
When you say Junior, the only other person in my family calls me Junior is Lonnie.
No, this
I
is
hope
a
he's
friend.
working today.
This is
he'll
a
do the
friend
same.
from the old canteen days down around the junior high.
Oh, baby. 1943.
1943, that's a long time, isn't it?
43 to 46.
I think you was around that way, that 507 down by Mr. Lewis' store?
807, 2nd Street,
No,
Southwest.
507 I Street down
505 I Street.
down there with Charles Feast and Joe Day.
Sure was.
Oh, boy, that goes back a long time, don't it?
Oh, baby.
Yeah,
You
man.
better tell me who it is before I come through this phone.
This is Bun. I used to live across the street from Carrington Vise on 5th Street.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
I
Because
think...
we used to live at 742 5th Street.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, old Sonny Vise, he's in California.
Yeah, he's in California.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he's been in California.
Yeah, where's Mike at?
Buddy?
Yeah.
New York.
Oh, man. Well, how you been, Junior?
Junior. Boy.
I love it. I love it.
R-I-C-K, a 61-year-old junior.
Well, that's what we used to call you.
Junior. Now I'm in trouble, sure enough.
Yeah, that's what we used to call you. There,
Everyone's going to start saying junior now.
Uh-huh. How's things been?
Fine. Can't complain. I've been very fortunate, very lucky to be a full-time musician most of my life and eat. And you can tell I eat because I overweight. So it's been pretty nice, yeah.
Not too much overweight that we couldn't get up a little football game again.
Dream on, dream on, dream on. The best thing I'll try is some tennis.
Some tennis?
If you
you
stay too long, I'm going to leave you.
Oh, man. Well, Junior, it was good talking to you.
Same here.
I look forward to talking to you Friday on the show, but I don't think you was able to make it.
Friday?
Yeah, I think that Jamal Hammond or something like that, he kept saying.
Oh, we did that yesterday.
We did that yesterday, yeah.
Oh, y'all did that yesterday?
Yeah.
Man, I was looking forward to seeing that.
Well, you better stop using that stuff.
Huh?
You stop using that stuff. Friday for Monday.
But you got him today, and well, you're listening to the right station right now.
Okay, then.
Glad you called in.
Take care now.
Thank you much.
All right, bye-bye.
Goodbye. Good afternoon. You're listening to The Caravan. You're on the air with me, Faune, Rick Henderson, and Yale Lewis.
Hello, Rick Henderson, Yale Lewis, and Faune. This is the mystery guest.
Tell Knox.
Hi.
How you will be a mystery?
No mystery.
Man, how you know me? Look,
No
Rick.
mystery to
Or you
Knox.
can't change that gravel voice.
Oh, boy, listen here. I just want to tell Faune that Rick Henderson started me in the music business.
I'm not that old, man.
Yes, it was some years ago. And I had to tell everybody this. If it had not been for Rick Henderson and Charlie Butler in the beginning, I would not have been in the business. But there's one thing Rick used to hold over my head was, Rick, remember the night you called me from the armory?
Yeah.
And said, come over here and join this band. And I told you, no, I was going with the other fellow.
Mm-hmm. The other fellow?
The other guy.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
Rick had never let me down on that, and every birthday he reminds me of it, and that happened some years
He
ago.
wouldn't go join Duke's band. He went on their car.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But look, Rick,
Yep.
I'm glad you made it this year.
Boy, you.
And Yale Lewis.
I'm standing here with you.
Now listen, Yale, I hate to use the program to talk business, but will you call me as soon as you get off the show?
I know exactly what you want to talk about.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And Gwen?
No, this is
Gwen.
Faune.
That's
Renee,
fun,
I mean.
This
Yeah.
is Faune.
Brenda.
She doesn't keep my tapes a year.
But you don't? Well, I just want to tell you something, and I want everybody on the radio to know this.
Mm-hmm.
You can have all the Duke Ellington experts in the world in Washington, D.C., but until you hear the arrangements of Rick Henderson, then nobody else fits the bill. I played him, I learned to play him, and he was the man who taught me. So therefore, you were speaking to the Bible, and I dare anybody else to say that he is not. Have a nice one. I'll see you tonight.
Say,
Rick.
Bertel,
Yeah, buddy.
don't send me no bill, boy. Don't send me no PR.
With this kind of build up, you know it's coming. Look here, go on with the program.
Thank you very much.
I got through. You know, this is the first time I ever got through on any one of those programs.
Really?
I mean, I'm telling you.
They love you, Bertel.
I know they do, man. Cuss me out every day, but they love me.
Keep you out.
Okay, then, take it easy.
Good
Thank
talking
you
to you.
much.
Okay, buddy.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
steady rhythm. Oh, steady rhythm, Bertel now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, indeed. Another person who I've been trying to get in to come to the station, and our schedules never seem to match.
Roberto?
But yeah.
I'm surprised he called. He doesn't like to talk.
Well, maybe that's why he hasn't been in for an interview. Anyway, we can't talk about the man after he hung up. Good afternoon.
He's listening.
He is. You're on the air with Rick Henderson.
Hello,
Yale Lewis.
honey.
Hi.
Pretty lady.
Oh, hello, Sam, man. I see, this is the voice that I know. Yes.
How you doing? I want to say
Fine,
hello to them two senior citizens you got up there. Because they're in the same category with me, but...
Oh, no.
Yes, that young one up there, he's a little behind me.
Thank God.
But they're still senior citizens.
There it is.
I listen to you, Yale.
Yes.
Just be quiet. Be quiet. 'Cause you the grandfather. I just want to say hello to you.
My man, sign man.
And my good friend Rick, see, I've been following him for a long time, all around all the dance halls and things. Used to come in and sit in with Bill Baldwin's band
Oh,
sometimes.
man. Ooh,
Colonnade.
I was a teenager then.
Yes, you was a teenager.
The old Colonnade.
All them boys was a teenager. Buck Hill and all
You're
them
right.
used to come in there. Charlie Rouse. And,
We all went to Armstrong.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was an old Cadoza fella myself, see, but I was a little ahead of you all.
Yeah, you're right. You quite a bit ahead of us.
I left
10 years.
Cadoza in 38 when CC came.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did 28th and M Street and all these.
Yeah, it was quite a transition. The old
Yeah.
Colonnade.
Yeah, yeah.
Most people don't remember the Colonnade. That was our principal place of dances, right under the
Something I want to ask Yale.
Yes, Ann.
Did you have Duke's 70th anniversary album with you?
Didn't bring it in. I have it, but I don't have it with me.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to do it tomorrow with my man, Nap.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted, like I was telling Jamal yesterday, that album, it shows you something. You know, you all were talking about the different arrangements
Right.
that are made, and that album really tells you something. You know, I listen to it often, you know.
It's a very good album.
Huh?
It's a very good album.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to say hello to you senior citizens, and don't you two up there worry my pretty lady to death.
You're pretty lady.
All right.
Thank you so much, Sam. And tell me, don't hang up. You hold on for just a second, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. We're near the top of the hour. You're listening to WDCU FM in Washington. We're going to take one more call, and then we're going to get into some of the music about the man about which we've been speaking and celebrating his 90th birthday, Duke Ellington. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Faune. How you feel?
Wonderful, sir.
This is your friend again. I'm still listening to you as always, and whether you're on mornings or evenings, I enjoy you and Gwen Redding.
Oh, good.
My question to Mr. Lewis, Yale Lewis, is, first of all, where are you now? What are you involved with now in terms of radio broadcasting?
I'm involved in freelancing occasionally. Sometimes I do voiceover commercials, but the majority of my time is taken as a commissioner on the D.C. Taxi Cab Commission.
Okay, well, one's got to do what one's got to do, but I
That's
sure will
it.
miss you on the radio. When was it you were predominantly doing radio shows such as Gwen's doing today? When was that? Was
Gwen?
it WOOK years ago? Or what?
Yeah, it was WOK years ago, and WUST, and WHUR.
Okay, okay. I can remember OOK, and I think maybe during the UST days I must have been away in the service or something like that, and then I also remember you at the HUR.
Right.
Okay.
And WETA, I put 7 years there.
Yeah, I sure did. Yeah, I vaguely remember that too, though, because I don't know, somehow or another ETA didn't get the kind of publicity that would have attracted listeners. And I think I found out about it by accident. You know, I read it in the Weekend Post weekend section.
That's why everybody saves money, or the way everybody saves money. They put it in the Weekender, and then they won't do any other advertising.
Yeah,
I mean, WETA is a public radio station just like this one, and they depend on you for your support.
True.
And they can't afford to go out and advertise in papers.
UDC's got my support always, especially with the two ladies that are currently doing their program. They are fantastic. They're doing a wonderful job, and I just can't give them enough praise. As far as Rick is concerned, Brother Rick, how you doing this evening?
Pretty good.
Okay, good, man. Good to hear you. Your voice, I haven't seen you, and Rick, I don't think I've seen you, man, since, man, I'm ashamed to say this, but it must have been some years back when you were last at the Howard. And I understand I
left
worked
the
with
Howard
a
in
cousin.
1964.
Yeah.
Boy, you old.
Well, hey, 40s ain't bad. Those are the better years. I worked with Rick Henderson's, must be his cousin or nephew, or niece, rather. And right offhand, I can't call her name, but she mentioned to me a program that you all did in town a couple years ago. I think it's an annual thing you do, your band.
Well, I got funded by the National Endowment of Arts and Music Performance Trust. I did about 7 years of Duke Ellington concerts where we played free to the public in the Washington parks from 2 to 5 consecutive days in the summertime.
Okay, but this
It wasn't actually annual, but we just got lucky to get funded 7 years.
Oh, right. Because this was a paid engagement.
Huh?
This was an engagement where you had to purchase a ticket.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and
I should remember that.
for the life of me, I wish I could think of you.
Oh, it may have been one of the dances we did called Dance to Look and Listen at the Ukrainian Shrine.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
We used
exactly
to
what I'm
do
talking about.
different things where we got a chance to play something else other than the Ellington music. Yeah, Ukrainian Shrine.
And you're currently involved, full-time in music, right?
All my life, yes. I've been very fortunate.
Okay, so you're traveling quite a bit, or how much of your
No, well, what happens is I do a lot of writing now. It's not a visible thing, so there's a tendency out of sight, out of mind. And unfortunately, you cannot write and hang out. You have to stay home and do the work. If you don't do the work, I was telling a story about two gorgeous Japanese ladies came by, and they wanted me to go to a Buddha meeting. I was convinced physically by them, but I told the ladies, I said, it's a nice idea, but if I don't go downstairs and put some black ink on this white paper when I come back, that's just the way it's going to be. So I couldn't go. That's the way writing is. If you don't do it, I don't care who you are, it won't be there.
Yeah.
There's no magic formula to putting something on paper unless you do it.
Takes all your concentration right there.
It takes it's time. And, putting it off, never get it done. I don't care what kind of writing is. You have to do it.
Well, okay, my friend. I appreciate talking to both of you, and as always, Gwen, you're my favorite.
Gwen?
No, this is Faune.
Faune.
Yeah.
On behalf, I understand. Believe me,
you know you do, right?
I
At
do
least
understand,
I hope you do.
and I want you to know that this is the last. Not the last time. No, this is the last week.
I can understand what the confusion is.
Yeah.
The confusion is that normally from 2:30 to 6:30, Gwen Redding is sitting in.
That's true.
But every Tuesday and Thursday, we have Faune sitting in now.
Does Yale have it down pat or what?
And Gwen sits in the morning for Faune.
But this semester is at its end, and what I was about to say is this is my last week of sleeping late on Tuesday and Thursday.
Oh, that's right. She graduates, huh?
No, she's not. She's got I think a couple more classes to take. Okay. But it's the end of this semester, and I go back to my full mornings beginning next week. So I've got today and Thursday.
Well, I'm glad to have you, Faune, at any time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure hanging out in the afternoon with everybody.
All right, I appreciate it. You certainly make my day.
Yeah.
Let me drape something else on you before you leave.
Okay.
Rick Henderson is not prone to rattle his own bones about what he does all the time. And since you brought it up about his writing, I'll share this with you.
Please do.
There was a young dude, a real young boy. When I call his name, you're going to laugh. Real young boy who had a situation up in New York City where he was playing quartet and things like that. And he finally got his head together and says, look, this is not what I want to do. I want to bring my big band in here. And he brought his big band, into the Village Vanguard in New York after he had communicated with Rick Henderson in Washington, D.C. to write all of the arrangements for the band.
Or some of them.
Okay.
Yeah, now that little young boy's name is Illinois Jaquette.
Illinois, okay.
Rick is writing Illinois' arrangements for his big band up at the Village Vanguard.
Wonderful. Doesn't he, I think he's got something new out, a big band thing?
Yes.
Yeah, on wax, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Digital recording.
Yeah.
It was up for a Grammy. It was a real nice. He sent me a cassette. He's doing quite well. He's only one of the newer bands that have to be working and making some money.
Is it possible to get in contact with you by mail or whatever? Or
me?
Phone?
Rick?
No, Yale.
You sure?
How could I stay on the line and get that from you?
Well, no, because we're going to be going into other things and talking, but my telephone number's in the phone book.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
DC?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I do appreciate talking to both of you, and you all continue on with just being successful as you are.
Okay.
Why, thank you much.
Thank
you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Our lines are full. I see we do have a lot of callers holding in. We promise we will try and get to you in just a bit. It's now 4 minutes after 5. Make it 4 minutes after 4. You're listening to WDCU FM in Washington. And my engineer has prepared some music. I don't know what it is, but we know that it's Ellington. It's some more Rick Henderson. Okay, that's most appropriate. So we're going to move on to that so that cut the chatter for a bit, and we'll talk here for a little while. We've got your jazz here at 90.1 FM.
That was a medley of tunes
introduced. We used to play it at the Howard Theater with the 12-piece band. And in that band, as I told you before, was Calvin Jones. He was my assistant leader. John Hewlin, Wilbur Brown, Joe Bovello, and Clarence Knight.
So this was the Howard band
Howard
that we
Theater
listened to.
Band,
Theater Band.
1956. Sorry about that.
It's not available, folks, so don't call me and ask me about it, okay?
No, that was a private thing. I was just telling Yale, Ben, who had just got this beautiful Ampex 600.
So that was on one of those sessions that you were
We recorded it in the theater.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was dying to try it out, and we wanted to hear how bad we sound.
and of course, that bodacious alto saxophone solo was Richard Rick Henderson,
better known
the boy that Charlie
Rick
Parker,
Jones.
the boy that Charlie Parker sounded like.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, Rick Jones.
What Jamal said, I knew you were bebopper. I said, yeah, I'm guilty.
It was me. And, of course, just before it, we were listening to Mood Indigo from Ellington's Indigos. We're celebrating Duke's 90th. It's just so marvelous to be in Washington at this time. Nowhere else. There's probably other cities that are having celebrations for Duke's 90th, but to be right here in the birthplace and have so many people in this area that played with Duke, that have close ties with him, close associations, And
it's ironic that Rick was able to arrange the music for Duke exactly the way Duke wanted it. Rick could hear Duke's intentions on his tone patterns and chord structures the way he wanted them to go. So Duke never had any problems with Rick's arrangements of any kind. Duke was out there first. We celebrate his birthday the 29th, this Saturday. And it's ironic that we celebrate Richard Rick Henderson's birthday today, the 25th. That's close.
Duke was 29 years older than I am.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And it's always funny. We'd generally be in the Blue Note in Chicago on his birthday, or in the old Birdland. He arranged, and we'd broadcast, so consequently on some of the tapes, some of them were live broadcasts.
Right.
That we would be on his birthday, or either New Year's Eve. He managed to be in one of those 4 places on his birthday and New Year's Eve.
How did you know, let's see, how do I want to put this question? In arranging music for him, how did you know what he wanted? I mean, did he just say, this is the way I want it, or did the two of you sit down, or did you say, this is what I have done? Is this the way you want it? I mean, where did it come from? Like Yale said, you did what he wanted, but how did you know what he wanted?
Well, let me first back up. At Armstrong, when I went to Armstrong High School, I went there primarily because they had a 3-year program of music theory. Everything else I took was academic, but the other schools didn't have it, so I had 3 years of music theory. And as a kid growing up, I always loved what the Ellington Band was doing, and particularly the writing of Duke Ellington. So I was already influenced.
Right, and you had studied what he had done.
I was influenced. I didn't study until I really got into the band, and I did some copying for him and Billy Strayhorn, and some of the things rubbed off. There's no way to write identical to Duke because it's a different kind of mind, but the influence was so great that I found that some of the things he used I liked, and I still use them. So,
because you talk about an Ellington sound and that being kind of obvious, but then if you look along, you say, well, oh, it's a Rick Henderson arrangement. Ellington didn't do that. Rick Henderson did that.
Well, you get indoctrinated. If you like it, you use it. The Ellington touted, what we call it, just an ensemble passage, I still use it. It still works for me, and it's a sound I like, so it's a part of me. There's no way to really, as I said before, duplicate Duke, but there's some things we all borrow from somebody. I used to introduce the name of the tune was Happy Go Lucky. Well, I introduced it by saying that there was a saxophonist in Duke Ellington's band who made a hit off of this tune called, what was that tune called? Night Train.
Night Train, yeah.
But he borrowed that from Duke Ellington. The real title is Happy Go Lucky Local, and that was true. Duke never sued him. Happy Go Lucky Local was actually the tune that Jimmy made a hit off of called Night Train. So he was just influenced. He heard it. He said, I'm going to play it. He put his name on it. Duke never sued him. I would have sued him. All that money he made.
You know, it was a funny thing about that Night Train thing. I talked to Jimmy about that years ago, and the way that came about, Jimmy Forrest had played with Duke Ellington himself. So they had played Happy Go Lucky Local, and he had the chart of Happy Go Lucky Local in his case. And when he took his band into the studio, they needed one more tune for the record, and he pulled that chart out. And he did a little changing to it, just a little bit. Took poetic license to change it a tad, and then he called his Night Train. But it's the same tune. I don't care. Same thing warmed over.
Yep.
We have it in the studio today.
Yeah, I was going to say, we both... I know we got Happy Go Lucky Local.
I don't have Night Train. I didn't bring that with me. But I know you have it in the studio. It would be a trip to play those two back to back. And the funny thing, that's from a live recording, the Happy Go Lucky Local, that was done in 1955 at the National Guard Armory, and Rick was with the band. And Rick is on the recording, because that's the one that we heard earlier, where he did All the Things You Are. And Duke introduced it, as a homeboy, with All the Things, his inversion of All the Things.
No, he said all the things he thinks he is.
Yeah, all the things. Yeah. Well, he did the same thing.
Say thoughts of things. So.
Yeah. And Duke did the same thing with Happy Go Lucky Local. I mean, he announced it, that they were going to play it, and he says, and if it reminds you of some other tune that you've heard, just remember that this one was written first.
This one came first.
Yeah.
That's true. That is really true.
Okay, it's 20 minutes after 4. You're listening Caravan. My name is Faune. My guests are Yale Lewis and Rick Henderson. We've got some callers who've been waiting patiently on the line, so we'll see what they have to say to us. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello?
I think they split.
That one. Move on to the next one. No problem at all. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
And that one split.
And that one, no. I think there must be one button somewhere on that console that.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
I recognize this voice.
I'd like to say hi to Yale Lewis.
Hello there.
Hi. And I'd like to say happy birthday to Mr. Rick Henderson.
Hey, thank you.
Even though I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, but I hope I do that someday.
That's my favorite night man, late night man, Whitmore John of WDCU FM.
I'd just like to share one thing with the listening audience, something I haven't shared with many folks, but I used to live in Boston. And I used to belong to an organization called the National Center of Afro-American Artists. And every year the Duke Ellington entourage used to come up there and give a free concert. 2 busloads.
Yeah, the old Starville.
I've had the pleasure of sort of hanging out with some of the members of the band. So
that's a
just want to share that with the listeners.
That's a long time.
Yeah, and I remember I saw Duke in 1973, and I told him that I'll see you next year when you come back.
Did you ever go to Starville?
Beg pardon?
Did you ever go to Storyville?
I went to Boston in 64 really.
Storyville was gone.
Yeah, we had the Big M was just going out, and Lenny's on the Turnpike, the Jazz Workshop.
Yeah.
So I just want to share that with the listeners.
Yeah, good.
Okay, yeah, talk to you.
Okay, Whitmore.
Okay.
Thank you, Whitmore.
All right.
Good afternoon. You're on the air with Yale Lewis, Rick Henderson, and me. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Faune. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Big Al.
Ah.
I called to say happy birthday to Rick. I had the pleasure of extending him a birthday greeting yesterday also.
Yeah.
But I was listening, and his partner in crime, the other war horse there, Yale Lewis, related to the times when they would talk about drinking a beer, but you couldn't get Yale Lewis to drink a beer now, from what he tells me, that he has another choice. But it's indeed a pleasure to hear these two gentlemen relate the history of Duke Ellington and in particular, and the jazz music in general. It is indeed a learning experience to hear them, and it's so nice to have these people living in our midst.
Indeed it is.
And I think that a lot of people are not aware of just how fortunate we are that we have the people who have lived this legacy, and that we can talk to them most any time that we choose to.
Well, Big Al is fortunate to have programmers like you living in our midst, too.
Well, you see, I learned from you, Yale. It was a lovely concert last night for an end, as always. It was always nice to see you.
Well, thank
and
you.
all of the other programmers up at the radio station there at UDC.
Yes, it was wonderful.
I would like to say to you and to Rick and to Yale Lewis, keep doing what you're doing, because I love everything that you say and do.
Well, thank you.
Take care.
Glad you called.
Glad you called, Big Al.
Goodbye.
Yes.
My man, Big Al. Big Al knows his music, too.
Oh, indeed.
Oh, yes, he knows his music.
And we hadn't talked about the concert last night. Wanted to make sure that I did thank everyone who attended the concert here at UDC with... don't really want to call it a battle of the bands, because it certainly wasn't a battle. The best musicians, young musicians in Washington, were there on the stage, and it was just tremendous between Howard and Maryland and the UDC Jazz Ensembles. And in case you missed it, hey, you missed it. You have to wait till next April for the 4th annual concert. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I'd like to say hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can.
All right. Well, happy birthday to Rick.
Thank you.
And that other fellow sitting next to him there, I know when his birthday is, because his birthday is the same as mine. Of course, we won't mention the year. Yeah, about Rick. We had a band out at Wake Hall many years ago, and we were the Veteranones, a group of veterans who were attending Howard University. And everybody was talking about this alto player. I said, man, this cat is way ahead. So Rick would come out sometime and sit in, and I mean, the guy was way ahead of all of us. So I just want to say hello, Rick. Happy birthday. And Yale, on the 8th of December, I'll see you, man. We'll have our birthday. To Howard. And Rick told me about the Arranger's Bible by Russell Garcia. I know you don't remember that, Rick.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Oh, sure.
Good.
You know I did. And when I get stuck, I still call you and ask you for things. So I just want to say happy birthday. It's a wonderful show. I'm enjoying it.
Thanks for calling you.
Hey, hang tough and keep the chops tight, baby.
Okay, baby.
No.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
We talked about the Howard Theater Band. Any possibility of members that are still in this area able to play, getting together?
I don't know. There's an interesting... I'm going to try to get the engineer to speed up something. I'll help him cue it up. During the days when I got to think in 1960, where we rehearsed a pianoless quintet. We were so busy doing nothing that we just rehearsed in my apartment, which is next door. I'm serious. It was next door to Yale. And the guys playing were Billy Taylor on bass, Harold Mann on drums, Philip Gilbo on trumpet, Calvin Jones on trombone, and I was playing alto. And I'd mix up a half a gallon of vodka and grapefruit juice, and I put it in the middle of the floor.
Oh boy, is right.
So we were smart enough to wait till the rehearsal was just about over to start drinking. And then after that, we'd be gone.
Well, I used to go up there. I used to go up to hear them rehearse, and that was years I had stopped playing. So I wasn't rehearsing.
No, what did you play?
I used to play alto saxophone and clarinet years ago. But I didn't rehearse with them, but I would sit in the middle floor and listen to them. But the vodka and orange juice, I stayed close to.
Yeah. There was a friend of mine, I grew up with, Sam Holloman. He'd come up, he was driving cab, sit in a chair and start drinking that vodka and go dead to sleep. With a smile on his face. Every day. We rehearsed between 1 and 3 because we didn't want to get in the way of the working people going home. And besides, it was safer because we get bombed.
That's right.
But again, you think you guys can, has there been any talk of it?
No, I guess as you get older, you go in your separate directions.
That's true.
And we're all doing something a little different.
But so many of you are still involved in music.
Yeah, well, Harold Mann is playing the show now at the Kennedy Center with Sophisticated Ladies. And, of course, Calvin is here. And he's playing shows and things.
George is in Maryland. But, I mean, even if you just...
Yeah, Phil Gilbo is here. He's going back on something with Ray Charles. And, yeah, that would be interesting. 29 years later. I don't know, it might not work out.
What? Didn't you have one of those tunes on that cassette? Which one of those tunes was it?
Well, I'm going to go back and help him cue it up because it's somewhere down there.
It's way down on it.
Yeah, it's a remarkable recording because we weren't really trying to record. We had a Roland Sykes 1500, if you know what that was.
I remember those.
And I had some heavy drapes, so I hung the microphone, just hung it, and the recording came out wonderful. As a matter of fact, I've been thinking about putting it out and calling Time Was.
Well, see, then if you guys didn't get back together after 29 years and you got a Time Was and a Time Is.
Yeah. Well, one of the brothers is no longer with us, Billy Taylor, but
That's right.
Harold Mann, Calvin Jones is, and Phil Gilmore, of course.
Well, the idea is there, so let's see what we can work out. Tell you what, meantime, we got some more music that I'm sure is all cute, and we can get to that. And while we enjoy this, then Rick, you can go find that cut, and we'll also, Yale and I will pull up Happy Go Lucky Local and Night Train, and we'll just give it to you. It's now at 4:36 in the nation's capital. You're aboard the Caravan with Faune, Yale Lewis, Rick Henderson on Jazz 90.
Birthday.
Is this the band vocalist?
It may be.
It may be. It is. We have to find a tape with you singing, Angela. This is our band vocalist, Angela White.
Hello.
Very
how
lovely
are
young
you?
lady. Sings very pretty.
Oh, well, thank you for listening.
I was supposed to call you about a party, wasn't it?
Yeah. I suppose it's off now.
No, the Proctor sisters told me there was going to be something. I'm serious.
Well, I'll call you later about
Okay.
that. But I'm really enjoying the show, and thanks for playing Carnegie. That's one of my favorites, all-time favorites by Rick.
Well, we must find something that you sing on.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. That would be great.
We'll look for it.
Good.
That would be great. Good hearing you, and happy birthday, Rick. Enjoy your day.
Thanks for that.
Thank you for calling in, Angela.
Stay well,
Sure.
Angie.
Bye.
All righty. Good on the air. Good afternoon. Oh,
I want
on the
some of
air.
that.
Hi.
Hello,
this
This is another lady calling to wish Rick a happy birthday. I didn't realize Angela would be on right before me. My name is Catherine Pryor, and I'm a great fan and admirer of both Rick's and Yale's. And I wanted the women to be represented
Thank
in
you
this
so much.
because only men have been
You
calling
know
in,
that?
and I just wanted to make sure you know that most of Rick's fans are really the women. So I'm glad that
personal.
Angela called. Play something of hers,
This
Rick.
is Catherine Faith Pryor, the love of my life.
Oh,
There
all
now.
right.
Yes, indeed.
Well, thank you very much, Catherine, for calling in. I'm
Okay,
glad
happy birthday,
you're
darling. Bye-bye.
I am very happy to hear from the ladies. It is always a gentleman, not always, but yeah, take odds here. It's generally the men who call in. So, ladies, we want you to call in too. If you don't know the number, if that is your excuse this afternoon, it's 364-6092. We do have some more people holding. Good on after. Gosh, what is it?
I don't know what it is. Give me some of it.
Hey, you're on the phone, okay? Welcome. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi.
How you?
Fine, thank you.
Fine. Can I talk to Rick?
You sure can.
This is his cousin.
Okay.
Hi, Junior.
Junior.
You don't know who this is? Long lost cousin. I love you because you were so good to your mother.
Yeah, well, we do what we can.
Right.
Which lost cousin is this? Because you sure sound lost.
This is Juanita.
Juanita.
Uh-huh.
That goes back.
Snook's sister.
Yeah.
Pete.
Yeah.
All of us.
Pete.
We just want to tell you we love you.
Glad you called, Juanita.
Uh-huh.
Look here, look in the phone book and pick out my number and call so we can do something other than deaths and,
Sure will.
Okay.
And take care.
Thanks for that.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for calling in. It's interesting, that people call you when you're at the radio station.
You trying to say something?
No, but it just seems to. No, it is just something that even when artists who are just sort of passing through, when they call, it just becomes like an old home week, a reunion kind of occasion, and it pleases me to know that these folk are out there and are of the same mind, that they're listening to this station, and they want to call up and be a part of what's happening, to say hello to Yale, to say happy birthday to you, to just say hello to those of us who are on the air. It is really, really nice, and I want you all to know that we truly, especially I, truly appreciate your listenership. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Ed Fagans. I'm calling to wish Rick happy birthday, and Yale Lewis, my Coast Guard buddy over there, and also thank Rick for the chance to play with Duke Ellington. You remember that, Rick?
Yeah, I remember. Tell him how.
Please tell me.
Ed
Tell all of us.
Fagan is quite a drummer himself on it. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, well, I just happened to be out to Andrews Air Force Base, and Rick said we're looking for a drummer. And so I had played with Rick in Washington at the theater and all around. And so Rick said, "Come on, sit there and make the job." And so I got paid for it too. That's the closest I've been to heaven, Rick.
That's good. Yeah, I remember it out of the base.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say happy birthday to you and holler at my old friend Yale.
Yeah,
and I saw Faune last night at the concert.
Good.
A charming young lady.
Yes,
thank you very much.
She sure is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Stay well, Ed.
Okay.
Good.
Such listeners, they are so kind. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Oh,
we just lost
one
that
down. I guess it took a moment too long, but we're going to catch this one. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Johnny West.
Hello.
Rick, I remember you with Wesley Anderson. Yeah. Yale, I remember you losing that crap. with the Dancing Bear.
Ah, yes.
And Dancing Bear's uncle.
Ah, yes. Yes, the Dancing Bear, that's the late Ron Sutton Sr.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rick, I remember you with Howard University Swing Masters.
Oh, boy, that's going back.
And Terrell is what? Terrell Jones?
Terrell Jones, Terrell
yeah.
Arnold Jones.
Yeah, down southwest.
Yeah, well, we lived in Southeast.
Southeast.
But we went to Randall Junior High School.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there was 5 of us who were inseparable.
Yeah.
Abe Venable, who's now the director of urban affairs for General Motors.
I used to call him Abe Venereal.
You remember Curly? Curly King.
Yeah. Curly King, and wait a minute. Carrington Visor.
Yeah, he's in California.
Yep. He is.
Yeah.
That's why I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, he's been there about 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Curly and Terrell and, of course, Julian Mayfield, the writer, we lost him in 84.
Yeah.
But Curly is the education officer for the Small Business Association.
Oh, wow.
One of those titles.
And let's see, the guys I remember around D.C. were like Buck Hill. Buck and,
Buck was a member of Armstrong.
Bubbles.
Charlie Rouse.
Charlie Rouse.
Charlie,
yeah. Charlie passed last year, or earlier this year. We Buck and I and Rouse were at Armstrong.
Well, y'all were slightly ahead of me.
Billy Taylor was at Dunbar.
Dunbar, yeah.
And Leo Parker was behind us. And you and Wesley Anderson, of course, God, I knew Wesley from boyhood. I mean, little boys. Yeah. I didn't know that sucker could play a trumpet until later years, you know.
Wesley was probably one of the most talented musicians I ever met.
Really?
He had that rare ability to play lead trumpet and solo. He could write, could compose, and he'd do it with such ease.
That's right.
It was just remarkable that he had all this talent in him. And, of course, you know his brother, Stuart Anderson.
Yes, Stuart.
The last time I saw Stuart, he was in my basement. He had his ex-wife in one place, his girlfriend someplace, and he was charming a new lady by painting her in ink. Mean.
The Incorporated Anderson.
Yeah. He didn't take no chances. Of course, Murray's still alive.
I just wanted to wish you happy birthday, guy.
Glad you called.
And Yale, since 14th Columbia Road is not your bailiwick anymore. Or am I lying?
No, you're not lying.
Lord. Maxie.
Yes. Not my bailiwick anymore, old tiger.
Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah.
And what are you doing now besides driving the cab?
Driving the cab, serving on the D.C. Taxi Cab Commission, and doing a little freelancing here and there in broadcasting.
You an MAL?
No. I do some voiceover commercials here and there.
Yeah.
Make that kind of money rather than sit in full-time at a radio station.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to know, guy, because, like, as I said, it's Johnny West from over the old headquarters Marine Corps.
Yep.
Boy, that's
and ain't too many of us left. I retired from over there, and, heck, I'm still hanging in there digging the sounds.
That's the way to go, Johnny.
Well, that's the way to do
it.
The
only way I know.
Hey, we're glad you tuned us in.
Rick?
Yeah?
Honest to God, boy, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Mine is next month.
Good.
Well,
no, wait a minute. Whoa, this is April. I'm skipping a month. Mine is June.
June.
In the middle of June, 18th of June.
Well,
good.
For futuristic coming dates, the 18th of June, happy birthday, forthcoming.
Absolutely.
And if I don't see you on the 4th of July, have a firecracker.
No, man. Still that Southwest guy.
Some things don't change.
Get me.
Thank you very much for calling, Mr.
Thank
West.
you.
We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
It's 7 before 5 on WDCU FM in Washington. You're aboard the Caravan with Rick Henderson, Yale Lewis, and Faune, and you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
I enjoy your show all the time.
Thank
Rick's the only one there that knows my voice. I want to wish him a happy birthday, and I'm enjoying the interview and everything. I just want to tell Rick that the more I talk to him, the more things I find out about him. I didn't know about his junior bit. And,
I knew. Bob?
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Bob? You didn't hear that.
Yes, I did. And I'm not sure Steve knows about that either.
He doesn't.
So I'm going to let him know.
I know. You're going to spread the gospel.
But I do want to wish you a happy birthday, buddy, and I'm going to see you tomorrow.
Okay, see you at rehearsal.
Okay.
Thanks, caller.
Bye-bye.
We're having a wonderful time here, and I hope that you all are out there, too. We lost the sunshine that was out when I came in earlier this afternoon. The clouds are out there, but I trusted the sunshine is coming through your radio. Compliments of Yale Lewis, Rick Henderson, and myself, Faune. We are going to go to the next caller, but if any of you just happen to know any other artists that have played Night Train, we were looking. I don't happen to have the
Buddy Morrow.
Buddy Morrow played it too, yeah, and Hamp recorded a long
He had a
time
big
It's not on. I don't have the album. I looked through all my Hamptons. I looked through all my Jimmy Forrest. I will go and look through the Buddy Morrow, and if anyone else can come up with anybody else who did it, that I might be able to look up. We'll see if we can find it. Anyway, got another caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hi.
Hi.
Speak to us.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Van Perry here.
Hello,
Hey,
Van
VP.
Perry. What do you say, VP?
Not too much.
Well, I was short.
Hey, where's Rick?
Here.
Right here.
Rick? Hey, you have another 61?
I'm going to try. But that other thing is permanent.
Oh, well, with me it is. I got to a certain number and I stayed there. Yeah, happy birthday.
Hey, man.
Yes.
Sound good. I've been asking the guys where you've been and what you've been doing.
Well, I had a little accident.
Accident, okay.
About July.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll work my first gig Saturday night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, first / July.
You go back and take some more money, huh?
No, I just want to see if I can still do it.
You going to do it for free?
Yeah, no, it is not free. I haven't been that sick. Say hello to Yale.
Yeah, Van. My man, Van.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know you haven't been that sick.
That's so I can have a free gig.
Yeah, your folks taught you to count better than that, baby.
Yeah. It's great hearing you.
Oh, good. Certainly
Faune and
yes, sir.
all the gang. Bertel, I was listening and I was hoping I'd get home to a phone before you all went off.
Yeah, you heard Bertel?
Yeah.
Yeah, O.B.
Yeah.
That was strange. He normally don't say nothing. It's a chore to get him to say, oh,
Oh, you don't know. You don't know. Since he retired, boy, he'll talk the ear off a brass monkey.
I guess that'll help, though. Get free.
Well, lots of luck and happy birthday again.
All right, thanks, dear.
And thank you so much, too.
And thanks, Van.
All right.
Ciao, babe.
It's about 2 minutes before 5. You're listening to WDCU FM in Washington. You're aboard the Caravan with us here. You know who we are, Yale, Rick, and Faune. See, now I cut the names down.
There it is.
And you're live and you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm happy to say happy birthday. I'm a resident of East St. Louis.
Wow.
Many a time where I listen to to Duke and the big bands just across the river in St. Louis some years ago, and I'm here in D.C. doing going to the death of my sister here, and I'm fortunate to listen to your program. I'm very happy to extend greetings. Thank you.
Thank you for calling, sir.
He reminded me of something, Yale. One of the first times that you called me, when we started on the air here, the first thing that you called, I think in your introduction to me, you were calling to correct me from saying Houston Pearson to Houston Person. That was call number one. Call number two was relating to the Duke, and I was reading the title of the tune. I was not familiar with East St. Louis Toodaloo, and there was a typo on the jacket, and I read East St. Louis Toodaloo. And he called me up and said, "My dear young lady." And it just went on. It was memorable conversations with you.
Speaking of that tune, though, there are really a couple of interpretations of it. Duke, it's been said that Duke had it in mind that he was, the music was copying a walk. So it was Toddalo, too.
Toddalo.
Yeah, okay. Toddalo, a toddle. And then Toodaloo, the bye-bye. He said, St. Louis, Toodaloo, I'm going to leave you alone. We split. It's that belief, too. I Am Rick has heard both of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I played them,
Yeah. Yeah, he's heard both of those.
Duke would just change up when he felt like it, or make it a little fresher, a little different, which made a little sense because after playing something all the time, you listen to one record one way all the time, you're on your way.
Yeah, out the back door.
It was just so cool, when I look at videos of him conducting, the masterful technique and the elegance, the elegant Ellington. It's just the eye, a little motion.
Well, when you do something so long, it's effortless. It's automatic.
And as you said, it was a close-knit group.
Yeah.
The members knew what to do.
There was something that most people never knew. We never knew what Duke was going to play until he played the piano. And then during his playing of the piano, he'd play the song he wanted. And then I'd have to find the music. Most other guys knew it. Then all of a sudden, he'd just stand up and boom, and we play. And that amazed people. How do they know what he's going to play? He never called tunes. Sometimes he might call for the vocalist, but when he's playing special on dances, he just play.
That's just it.
And we'd, by listening, we would know what he was playing, and it was time to come in and hit it. It was automatic. It used to amaze people. How do they know what they're doing?
Well, it's what it is communicating. I mean, I've seen Duke work with the guys in the band, and Rick will tell you, he'll talk to you. He'd talk to each of the guys. He'll tell you his concept, what he thought he wanted. And in the raise of the eyebrow, when he's talking to you, he's communicating. Now, when you get the band going, then all he's got to do is turn around and raise that same eyebrow to you, and it means now it's time for you to do what I had talked to you about. Now, isn't that right, Rick?
Well, it's something similar to that.
Yeah.
Actually, Duke gave you a lot of freedom because he expects you to be yourself, but he also expects you to be yourself in the context of what he was doing or how he was packaging you. The reason it's so difficult to sort of copy Ellington because he sort of packaged his music around the individuals, like, Johnny Hodges solo, Lawrence Brown or Harry Connick. He really had the band right around them, just like making love, right around them. And, we were talking yesterday about when the guys left the band, they never seemed to make it because most of us got used to hearing how he was packaged, In the marketing world, it says, we better package this way. It gets over this way. We can sell it this way. Well, Duke had a knack of being able to deliver an arrangement that enhanced the talent of his performers, which was proven time and time again, especially Duke and Strayhorn. I should always include Strayhorn. Strayhorn was he was the most nonchalant. If you ever met him, you would think he did nothing. And he hardly ever talked about music, but he's one of the most talented guys. He wrote so closely to Duke that very few people could tell the difference. I can tell the difference because I was there with him.
Right.
But their minds were completely attuned psychologically about the construction of harmonies and what they wanted to hear with the band do.
and a lot of people have great problems trying to figure who wrote what. In fact, I think Duke he enjoyed that. He said, "You write that?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe Strong wrote that."
You never know.
And it was even difficult many times to differentiate between the two of them at the piano, too. Because Strayhorn had gotten so close, he played so much like Duke. I mean, it was just a feeling, I suppose. Well, knowing the man and what the individual wanted. You became his right arm. And in the times that he needed you to be, then you were his left arm.
Well, there's a little inside thing I can tell. Duke, sometimes on some recordings, the piano player is Strayhorn.
Mm-hmm.
So Duke would tell Strayhorn, "Now, wait a minute. Make sure it sounds like me."
Don't sound like you.
Yes,
sound like me.
Yeah. Because Strayhorn was a marvelous pianist.
Mm-hmm.
Both hands. He could really play. And he's got a few albums out, mostly European. As a matter of fact, he used to be the accompanist for the young ladies here, Lena Horne.
Lena, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They were great friends, Lena and Stray. He could really, really play. But he was very subdued, and if you talk to him, you never know he could do anything. But that mind was...
Once he sat down at the piano.
Oh, that mind was something. The thing he wrote, Lush Life, was, as a teenager, was still...
He wrote that as a teenager?
At 16 years old.
Really?
You know, there's quite a story behind that. He was a soda jerk up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, working at a drugstore. And Duke Ellington walked into that drugstore, and he was talking to him and found out that he was the great Duke Ellington. And he gave Duke a manuscript of Lush Life. And Duke put it in the back of his briefcase, and it stayed there some 6 months. And then when he pulled it out and played it, let's turn the car around and go back and get that boy. And that's exactly what happened. And Billy Strayhorn died of leukemia. And that's where the tunes came out. I mean, like Billy, when he was up in Manhattan in the hospital, dying from it, he wrote the tune Upper Manhattan Medical Group. He wrote another tune called Blood Count. And then when Strayhorn died, Duke really took those two tunes, reshuffled them around, and retitled them. And he called it, and his mother called him Bill. See, because Rick and us, we call him Sweet Pea, or Billy.
I've heard that.
Or Billy. Mm-hmm. But his mother refused to call him anything but Bill. So Duke entitled the tunes, and his mother called him Bill.
That was titled the album.
Yeah.
His mother called it.
Yeah, title of the album. And his mother called him Bill. But it all ties together. It's so strange. This thing called music. I mean, you find love, intrigue, romance, friendship.
It's a novel.
It's
a novel in life.
It's the world communication situation, music.
It's funny, he has that thing queued up with your conductor, Calvin Jones.
Mm-hmm.
This thing we did in the apartment with this 1500 Wallen sax. Did you ever see one of those?
I remember them, yes. Yeah, they were the old ones. They had some in school.
I'm a great swapper, so I must have swapped up with somebody.
Well, since you mentioned that our engineer has it queued, we've got a couple more calls that we want to get to before we finish chatting here. But it's queued and it's ready to go, and why don't we just go for it?
You got it.
All right.
Solo. He did all the trumpet solos on that.
Right.
And on the drums is Harold Mann, who's currently playing down the show of Sophisticated Ladies. On the bass is the late Billy Taylor. And on trombone is the University of D.C.'s jazz instructor, and leader of their jazz ensemble, Calvin Jones.
And Rick Henderson.
Rich Henderson
on alto.
On alto.
Sounding so bird-like.
Yeah. I tell you.
1960 was nothing else to do.
That was it. 60, that was it. You're right.
Yeah. I recall a statement that Red Rodney made about Charlie Parker. He says, well, when it came to bebop, he was the father of us all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
there it is.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
He was really into it. That was very odd, though. We were talking about this old 1500. We weren't even trying to record. We were just trying to figure out how well we were playing together,
Mm-hmm.
And the tape sort of hurts your feelings sometimes. It'll tell you when you don't play together.
It does. And there it is on tape. You can listen to it again in case you missed it.
If you think it's going to change, you're in trouble.
No. But truly, as you say, there was no great miracles of technology. It wasn't in a sound room where everything is so precise in the living room. But like I said, heavy green velvet drapes. The color had nothing to do with it, but the fact that they were heavy drapes.
Well, that must have been it because we had glass on each side.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And carpet.
No,
he didn't even have any carpet.
You're kidding, that costs money then.
That's right. And Ellington hadn't paid.
No.
It's about 13 minutes after 5, folks. If you're just joining us, where have you been? We've been having one heck of a time here, and marvelous time. Some folks are on the line waiting to get on and talk to my guests this afternoon, who are, again, Yale Lewis and the birthday man, Rick Henderson, and you're on the air with all of us. Hello, my friend.
Hello?
Hi. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. I want to talk to Rick.
Okay.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Hey, happy birthday, man. This is David Alexander.
Oh, boy.
You haven't seen me since the time we was play pool together.
Boy, did you whip me or I take your money?
You was good now. No question about that. No question about that, Rick. You remember we from down Randall?
Yeah.
How's everything?
Boy, I had to be good. I was next to the theater and all them hustlers getting me to take my money.
Yeah, Rick. Nice hearing from you.
Yeah, it's good you called, man. It's been many days.
Oh, yeah. The last time I saw you, Rick, was at the Majestic up on U Street.
Ooh, boy.
That
the old Majestic
long time.
upstairs.
Yeah, Rick.
That's during the colonnade days.
That's right. That's right.
Bobby Robinson and I used to walk up and down there with our horns and go to 5 joints jamming looking for a girl.
There you go. Okay, Rick, I just want to wish you happy birthday.
Okay, thanks, brother.
Thank you, man.
Good afternoon. You're aboard the Caravan with my guests here at 90.1 FM.
Hi, yes, I'd like to speak to Rick.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Rick.
Hi.
Bill Clark here. How you doing?
Hey, Bill.
Hey, how's everything? Happy birthday, man.
This is Dr. Bill Clark, the administrator for Maryland, the piano player and the organist. Hey, boy, you owe me the money?
No. I've been riding home in the car, man, and I was hoping I'd get home before you got off to wish you a happy birthday, man.
Hey, thanks, bro.
And keep up the good work, man.
I'll be trying.
I'm enjoying it.
Hey, good.
Okay.
Glad you called in, Bill.
Okay, man.
Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you.
Swing top, Bill. Oh, boy.
See, I told you, reunions.
Yeah.
Folks that you have not talked to in years.
Yeah.
No, I've talked to Bill quite often. He plays organ and piano, and he has a group of his own. And I think the last time he let me use his PA system for money.
Good afternoon. You're on the air on the Caravan.
Hello, Bonnie.
Hi.
I would like to say this is a fantastic show.
Thank you.
And to Rick and Yale, I want you to know I waited on the phone and used up all my practice time. And my gig's going to be hurting tomorrow. You don't know who this is, do you? Jim Howard here.
Who?
Jimmy
Howard. Hey, what do you say, Jimmy Howard?
Happy birthday, Rick.
Thanks.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal trumpet player.
Did you hear Bob call in?
I heard him.
Yeah.
I was listening to the whole show, and it's really great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Hey, you guys keep hanging in there.
Hey, Jim, good.
Right.
Hey, how are your chops?
Hurting now.
I'm so sorry.
Hey, it's beautiful.
But I'm glad you waited.
Glad you called it, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, swing tough, guys.
Right, bye.
Bye now.
It's 17 minutes after the hour. You're listening to the Caravan. Yale Lewis, Rick Henderson, and Faune and you. You're on the air.